You've probably heard of the Duggar Family, 19 Kids and Counting, or the Amazon documentary Shiny Happy People. If you have, then you've heard the name Bill Gothard. He was the man behind it all, the cult leader, the one at the top, the one in charge. And this is something that you probably don't know, is that I am the one that he wanted to marry.
Wow, Rachel Lees has just started to push this narrative online. So this is the first video in a series that will show the truth about Rachel Lees' real story and the things she's not going to show you. You will see her own personal writings, correspondence between her and Mr. Gothard, and testimony of others who were there at the time, including Mr. Gothard himself, what kind of relationship she actually had with him, and proof that Bill Gothard never wanted to nor ever suggested marrying Rachel Lees. Later in the series, I'll also address her part in the failed repressed memories lawsuit that was filed against IBLP and Gothard in 2016 and was referenced frequently in the propaganda piece Shiny Happy People, Duggar Family Secrets, Season 1. Rachel Lees has recently decided to use the time she spent at IBLP headquarters more than 30 years ago, back in 1992 and 1993, to elicit attention online now in order to promote herself and foster interest in her writing career from the public. And she's using anything she can to shock people into listening to her. Some of her attempts to solicit attention will be shown later in this series. In 1991, Rachel Lees was invited to IBLP headquarters in Chicago and spent time there in 1992 and 1993 when she was 20 and 21 years old. Notice from the start, again, we are talking about a short time that happened more than 30 years ago. During her time there, she now claims she was groomed by Bill Gothard.
I was handpicked by him to be his secretary, and he groomed me.
She also claims that because she was there working for him 30 years ago, she is now the expert on Bill Gothard.
I am the expert on Bill Gothard, and I am the expert on my own life, and both our lives intertwined.
So just to recap, Rachel claims that she is the expert, she was sexually groomed, and that Bill Gothard wanted to marry her. Here is the real story. Bill Gothard traveled to New Zealand in 1991 with the idea of expanding the Institute in Basic Life Principles ministry to that lovely country. At that time, he thought it was important to put some native New Zealanders in place to work on the building up of the ministry there. When he met Rachel's family, he thought he found a good source of help and eventually enlisted Rachel's father to be the director of the New Zealand ministry. With their parents' permission, Bill invited both Rachel and her sister to headquarters for office training with the expectation that they would return home and support their father and the new ministry. It was very clear to the people who lived with Rachel in her dorm at IBLP headquarters and who worked with her at the time that she was infatuated with Mr. Gothard. Several accounts of witnesses I have personally spoke with say she had a huge crush on him, was giddy when talking about him, and manipulated situations as much as she could to be in his presence as much as possible. Several accounts from people who were there at the time, including numerous staff members, said she commonly requested counseling sessions with Mr. Gothard in order to spend more time with him. She already worked at headquarters, so saw him every day. Mr. Gothard would sometimes be reluctant to accommodate all her requests, but was also very generous in giving his extra time when anyone requested it. Here are just a few excerpts from letters she hand wrote to Mr. Gothard, where she refers to the time she spent with him during those 2 years. This first letter was written during the time she was at headquarters when she had met him a full 2 years earlier. June 20th, 1993. Dear Mr. Gothard, I so wanted to be able to give you a gift and wish you a happy spiritual Father's Day, but I could not find anything appropriate or that would express enough the deep gratefulness I have to you for your counsel on so many occasions and for your friendship, which means more to me than I can say. I can't wish you a happy Father's Day, but you are a very caring, trustworthy, loyal, patient, forgiving, wonderful friend to me. So I'm going to make up my own day and wish you a very happy Friends Day. November 6th, 1994, the year after she left headquarters and was back in New Zealand. And in this letter, you can hear her crush-like attitude about him sending her birthday wishes and a gift, which, by the way, Mr. Gothard did with most all of his office staff members. It was very common for Mr. Gothard to send happy birthday wishes and gifts to people he knew, and he even continues to send gifts to people to this day. Dear Mr. Gothard, you really do spoil me. It was such a lovely surprise to find your fax waiting for me when I got to the office, and was such an encouragement. And then you on the phone. I couldn't have had a better birthday present than hearing all that good news. What an exciting day you had, and you made it exciting for me too. And then to receive the gift the very next day just overwhelmed me. Thank you for being so thoughtful. I have the clock in a prominent place in my room on Chicago time, so that when I pray for you and the ministry over there, I can make a guess at what you'll be doing. And do you know what? I was laughing at myself because it showed me how homesick I am, but I kept picking up the box that the clock came in and smelling it because it smells just like and reminds me of the staff center and your office and mine and Mrs. Heiniger's. Your thoughtfulness and sensitivity really blessed me last week and really made my birthday and my whole week. It wouldn't have been half as good without hearing from you, and I wish there was a way that I could bless you as much as you blessed and encouraged me. No one is looking forward to your coming to New Zealand more than me. I can hardly believe it yet, and it won't seem real until I see you walk off that airplane. I still have to wait 4 months or so yet, and then after you leave, I'll have 4 more months to wait until I come back to Oakbrook. It goes on from there with more praise and giddiness. But here's how it ends. Thank you, Mr. Gothard, for your generosity to me and for the blessing and encouragement that you are to me all the time, and for the spiritual heritage you've given me. I miss you and can't wait for you to come to New Zealand. I'm praying every day for you. God bless, Rachel. As you can see here, there is a kind of giddiness and girlish-like crush vibe going on. One of her friends from back then said her sister and her would joke about Rachel being in love with Mr. Gothard because of the way she talked about him and always wanted to know where he was and what he was doing. But there are many more communications that show that the relationship Mr. Gothard and Rachel Lees had was a friendship, specifically under the category of mentor and mentee. There were no romantic feelings going from Mr. Gothard toward Rachel. This was certainly not a groomer and a victim. And Rachel, at the time she was at headquarters and for years after, knew that clearly. In fact, I have more letters and cards that she sent him throughout the years when she got married, had children, when there were health concerns in her family, all expressing her gratitude to him. She wrote him on and off, year after year, with cards and letters up to until about May of 2011. That is the last letter I have from her to Mr. Gothard. Throughout these years, it seems Mr. Gothard always responded to her communications and would sometimes send little gifts to her and her family on special occasions, as he did with many people who had worked in IBLP ministry. He always responded to letters from people and spent a lot of time doing so. I have numerous examples of how he would send gifts to people on a regular basis. In the last few years they were in contact, The letters were further and further apart, but were still full of gratefulness. They would arrive every year or two in the last few years, up until May of 2011. Suddenly, in 2012, it seems Rachel begins to think differently. This is when she began to read things online from people who had the distinct intent to ruin Gothard and take down IBLP. And later in the series, I'll tell you about a specific incident that caused Rachel to become very angry with Mr. Gothard and turned her whole attitude around. But first, this next excerpt is from a letter that Mr. Gothard wrote to Rachel after she took up with these people who were online for the purpose of destroying him and the people organizing the lawsuit. This is when Rachel suddenly started accusing him of harming her, more than 2 decades after she was involved in the ministry. September 23rd, 2014, from Mr. Gothard to Rachel Lees. Quote, "During our time in New Zealand, I realized that in order to experience lasting results, we needed dedicated and trained New Zealanders to carry on the work. When I met you and your family, I saw the potential that you all had for such a ministry. It was such an encouragement that your dad became the director and your family worked with all the homeschool families. My intentions in bringing you and your sister to headquarters in 1991 was to give you the best possible training and then send you back to New Zealand so that we could continue the ministry of reaching your nation for the Lord. I had no other intentions. When you began meeting with me in my office for training and answering letters, my sister Laura was in the adjoining office and was able to hear all of our conversations. She clearly recalls how morning after morning I needed to reassure you that you were important and that you had value. She was surprised at how much time this required. However, I was glad to do it because I saw the many excellent qualities that you had, and I looked forward to the ministry that you could carry out in New Zealand. The friendship we had is confirmed by many documents. First is the daily record that I asked you to write out while you were here. If anyone would have told me that the words and actions that I used to encourage and affirm you would one day be interpreted as harassment and grooming, I would have recoiled in horror and instantly stopped any actions or words that could be misunderstood." Unquote. Now, if you look at all the communications, only a very small portion of which I was able to share here, it is clear that the relationship that Rachel and Mr. Gothard had was not romantic. That she did have a crush on him at one point, like a schoolgirl might have on a teacher. That he did not ever indicate a romance of any kind. And that they continued a friendship and mentorship type relationship over many years, even when she was home in New Zealand and throughout her marriage and when she had children and etc. Next time, I will give you the real story behind Rachel's claim that Gothard wanted to marry her. You will be shocked at how she is using this rumor to spread a false narrative for attention online. Please don't forget to subscribe and comment below. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you here next time.